The Great Hall of Nexus Prime buzzed with nervous energy as 12 alien species gathered for an emergency council meeting. Ambassador Zethkar of the Velthari Empire stood at the center podium, his blue-scaled hands trembling slightly as he prepared to speak. The seasoned diplomat had seen many crises in his long career, but nothing like what he was about to reveal. "Fellow delegates," Zethkar began, his voice carrying across the vast chamber, "I bring disturbing news about the humans and what may happen in the coming days." The room fell silent. Representatives from across the galaxy leaned forward in their seats. The humans had been peaceful since first contact 20 years ago. They traded fairly, helped with medical research, and never started fights. What could possibly be wrong? 3 days ago, I received intelligence reports from our deep space scouts, Zethkar continued. The Cretan Empire has formed a military alliance with the Draxian clans, the Nethys Republic, and the Zorn Collective. They plan to attack human colonies within the week. Murmurs rippled through the chamber. The Cretan were known as fierce warriors who valued strength above all else. Their leader, War Chief Graktor, had publicly called humans soft meat and claimed their rapid expansion insulted ancient territorial rights. "This concerns us how?" asked Senator Vexila of the Trade Federation, her insect-like mandibles clicking impatiently. "Humans are newcomers. If they cannot defend themselves, perhaps they should not spread so far across the stars." Zethkar's eyes darkened. "Senator, with respect, you do not understand what you are saying. I have studied humans for 2 decades. I have walked among them, learned their history, observed their nature. There is something about this species that the galaxy has failed to grasp." Far from the council chamber, Commander Jake Harrison guided his ship New Frontier through the final approach to Earth's Luna base. The diplomatic mission to the Cretan system had gone well, he thought. The trade agreements were signed, and both sides seemed satisfied. Jake had no idea that his peaceful negotiations had actually made the Cretan leaders more suspicious of human intentions. "Commander, we're getting priority communications from Fleet Command," reported his communications officer, Lieutenant Amy Davis. "Admiral Cole wants to speak with you immediately upon docking." Jake frowned. Admiral Ben Cole rarely called for immediate meetings unless something serious was happening. "Patch me through as soon as we dock, Amy." Meanwhile, in the deep space monitoring station hidden on Luna's dark side, Dr. Lisa Martinez stared at her sensor readings with growing concern. For the past 48 hours, her instruments had detected massive energy signatures moving through hyperspace. The patterns suggested large fleets, but the technology didn't match any known alien designs. "Computer, run analysis on energy signature Delta 77, Lisa commanded. Analysis complete. Energy output suggests a fleet of approximately 400 vessels, classification unknown. Trajectory indicates movement toward human-occupied systems in the outer rim." Lisa's blood ran cold. 400 ships was enough to wipe out several colonies. She grabbed her communicator and dialed Admiral Cole's emergency line. Back on Nexus Prime, Zethkar struggled to make the other delegates understand the gravity of the situation. "You see humans as peaceful traders and explorers," he said, his voice rising with frustration. "But I have studied their history. Do you know what happened on their homeworld before they reached the stars?" The chamber remained silent, so Zethkar continued. "They fought wars that killed millions. They created weapons that could destroy entire cities in seconds. They survived plagues, disasters, and conflicts that would have ended most species. But here is what truly frightens me. They stopped fighting only when they had no enemies left to fight." "Surely you exaggerate," scoffed General Morthak of the Hegemony Defense Corps. "We have observed human military capabilities. Their ships are adequate but not exceptional. Their weapons are conventional. What threat could they possibly pose to established powers like the Cretan?" Zethkar's scales darkened to deep purple, a sign of extreme distress among his people. "General, that is exactly the mistake the Cretan are making. Humans do not show their true strength until they are pushed beyond their limits. I fear we are about to witness what happens when a sleeping predator is awakened." Admiral Cole reviewed The latest intelligence reports in his office overlooking Earth's Pacific Ocean. The attack patterns Dr. Martinez had detected matched perfectly with the troop movements Jake Harrison had observed during his diplomatic mission. The Cretan had used the negotiations as cover to position their forces. "Sir, we have confirmation from 3 outer colonies," reported his aide, Captain Helen Ross. "Unknown ships have been spotted on the edge of their sensor ranges. Colony Haven's Rest reports at least 50 vessels holding position just outside their defense perimeter." Cole stood and walked to his window, looking out at the blue waters below. Somewhere out there, human families were going about their daily lives, unaware that death was approaching their distant homes. He had hoped this day would never come, but humanity had prepared for it nonetheless. "Helen, activate Protocol 7. Send the authorization codes to all fleet commanders. It's time to wake up the sleeping dragons." Back on Nexus Prime, Zethkar made one final attempt to warn the galactic community. "I have seen what humans are capable of when they believe their families are threatened. Their capacity for violence is matched only by their creativity in applying it. If the Cretan attack human civilians, the response will be unlike anything our galaxy has witnessed." "You speak in riddles, Ambassador," replied the council speaker. "What exactly are you trying to tell us?" Zethkar looked around the chamber, at the dismissive faces of his fellow diplomats. They would not listen, and soon it would be too late. "I am trying to tell you that when humans finally snap, not even the gods themselves can protect those who provoked them. The Cretan think they are hunting sheep, but they are about to learn they have awakened something far more dangerous." As, if summoned by his words, emergency alarms began sounding throughout Nexus Prime. The first reports were arriving from human space. The attack had begun. The attack came without warning at 0347 Galactic Standard Time. Haven's Rest, a peaceful farming world home to 200,000 humans, detected the incoming fleet only minutes before the first plasma beams struck their orbital defense platforms. Governor Sam Peterson watched from the planetary command center as his world's defenses crumbled. The alien ships moved with practiced efficiency, targeting communication arrays and civilian evacuation points. This was not a military conquest. It was systematic extermination. "Sir, we're getting reports from the agricultural districts," his aide reported, her voice shaking. "The aliens are targeting farms and settlements. They're not trying to capture anything. They're just killing everyone." Sam closed his eyes as the orbital bombardment intensified. In 6 hours, 2 centuries of human progress on Haven's Rest would be erased. He activated his emergency beacon, knowing it might be the last message his world would ever send. 3 systems away, the mining stations at Kepler 442 faced a similar fate. Chief Engineer Bob Taylor had just finished his morning equipment check when the asteroid processing facility's sensors detected massive ships emerging from hyperspace. Unlike Haven's Rest, the mining stations had no planetary defenses, no escape routes. "This is Kepler Mining Station Alpha to any human vessels," Bob transmitted on all frequencies. "We are under attack by unknown alien forces, approximately 30 ships, heavy weapons. Request immediate assistance." The transmission cut to static as the first alien missiles found their target. Within minutes, all 17 mining platforms in the system went silent, their automated distress beacons the only proof they had ever existed. On New Terra, humanity's most established colony outside the Sol system, Governor Helen Park received the terrible news as emergency reports flooded in from across human space. 5 systems under simultaneous attack. Millions of humans already dead or missing. An enemy that showed no interest in surrender or negotiation. "Colonel Ray Johnson, I need you in my office immediately," Helen commanded over the military communications network. Colonel Johnson arrived within minutes, still wearing his workout clothes from the base gym. "Governor, what's the situation?" "We're at war, Ray. Multiple colonies under attack. Long-range sensors show a fleet heading our way. I estimate we have maybe 6 hours before they arrive." Ray studied the tactical displays Helen had prepared. New Terra was better defended than the other colonies, with a full planetary guard regiment and orbital weapon platforms. But the enemy numbers were overwhelming. "We can't stop them," Ray said honestly. "But we can make them pay for every meter," of ground. I'll begin evacuation of non-essential personnel immediately. Do what you can, Colonel. I'll coordinate with the civilian authorities to get as many people off-world as possible. On Earth, Admiral Ben Cole stood in the Fleet Command Center watching the destruction unfold across multiple screens. Each red dot represented a human world under attack. Each blinking signal was a distress call from people who would likely be dead before help could arrive. Admiral, President Karen White is on Secure Line 1, his communications officer announced. Cole picked up the encrypted phone. Madam President. Ben, I'm watching the same reports you are. How bad is it? Bad. Karen, we're looking at coordinated genocide. This isn't territorial expansion or resource competition. They're trying to wipe us out completely. President White was quiet for a long moment. Admiral, I'm authorizing Protocol 7. Use whatever means necessary to ensure this never happens again. Understood, Madam President. I'll begin mobilization. Immediately. Back on New Terra, the first alien ships appeared in the system's outer rim. Colonel Johnson had managed to evacuate nearly half the civilian population, but time had run out. The Cretan fleet approached the planet with the same methodical precision they had used at the other colonies. All units, this is Colonel Johnson, Ray broadcast to his scattered forces. The enemy is here. Remember your training, protect the evacuation zones and make every shot count. New Terra base out. The battle for New Terra began as alien ships swept through the system, destroying human vessels with contemptuous ease. But unlike the other colonies, New Terra fought back. Planetary defense guns opened fire, scoring hits on several alien vessels. Human fighters launched desperate attacks against the much larger enemy ships. For 3 hours, the humans held their ground. Colonial Guard units fought street by street as alien troops landed in the major cities. Civilian volunteers joined the defense using hunting rifles and improvised explosives against advanced alien weapons. But courage could not overcome such overwhelming odds. By the end of the day, New Terra's capital city was in flames. Governor Eat Park transmitted one final message before alien troops stormed the government complex. To any human forces receiving this transmission, we held them as long as we could. The enemy shows no mercy. They execute prisoners and destroy everything human. Tell Earth that New Terra died fighting. Dr. Lisa Martinez worked frantically in her Luna-based laboratory, analyzing the energy signatures from the attacks. What she discovered made her blood freeze. The weapons being used against human colonies operated on principles that violated several basic laws of physics as humans understood them. This technology shouldn't be possible, she whispered to herself. The energy output alone would require power sources we can't even imagine. But as she dug deeper into the data, Lisa realized something even more disturbing. The alien weapons were advanced, but they were not the most powerful signatures her sensors had detected. Hidden in Earth's outer system, massive energy sources were awakening, sources that had been dormant for decades. On Nexus Prime, Ambassador Zethkar watched the initial battle reports with growing horror. The Cretan Alliance was winning, but their methods were proving his warnings correct. This was not warfare as civilized species understood it. This was the systematic destruction of an entire race. Council Speaker, Zethkar addressed the Emergency Assembly. I must inform you that the human response to these attacks will likely violate every treaty and convention our civilization has established. When humans discover what has happened to their colonies, their retaliation will be unlike anything in galactic history. Ambassador, you continue to overestimate these humans, replied the speaker dismissively. Yes, the attacks are regrettable, but surely rational negotiation can resolve this conflict. Zethkar's scales turned the deep black of absolute despair. Speaker, with great respect, you still do not understand. Humans do not negotiate when their children are being murdered. They do not show restraint when facing extinction. What comes next will teach the galaxy why humans should never have been pushed to this extreme. As if summoned by his words, new energy signatures appeared on the long-range sensors. From Earth's direction, something was moving through hyperspace at speeds that should have been impossible. The human response was beginning, and it would arrive much sooner than anyone expected. In the ruins of New Terra's capital, Colonel Johnson and his surviving troops continued their guerrilla resistance against the occupying Cretan forces. Hidden in the underground tunnels, they documented everything they saw: the systematic execution of human prisoners, the destruction of hospitals and schools, the casual cruelty of an enemy that viewed humans as vermin to be exterminated. "Keep recording everything," Johnson told his communications specialist. "When our people come for us, they'll need to know exactly what these monsters did here." The specialist nodded grimly. He had no doubt that human forces would eventually arrive. The only question was whether there would be anyone left alive to rescue. Captain Amy Rogers had been exploring the Outer Rim for 5 years, but nothing had prepared her for what she saw when her ship Horizon arrived at the Vega system. Hidden behind the gas giant's massive rings was a fleet unlike anything in human space, ships that seemed to bend light around their hulls, weapons that hummed with barely contained energy. "Captain, I'm reading over 200 vessels," reported her sensor officer, Lieutenant Tom Clark. "But these designs, they're not in any database. What the hell are we looking at?" Amy stared at the massive dreadnought at the fleet's center. The ship called Retribution was 3 kilometers long, its hull covered in geometric patterns that hurt to look at directly. Beside it, the carrier Nemesis launched fighters that moved without visible engines, defying every law of physics. Amy understood. "Horizon, this is Admiral Cole on the command ship Vengeance. Welcome to humanity's real fleet." Amy had heard stories about Admiral Cole, but seeing his face on the communication screen shocked her. The man looked like he had aged 20 years in the past week. His eyes held a cold fury that made her shiver. "Admiral, I don't understand. Where did these ships come from? Our intelligence reports never mentioned anything like this." "Captain, what you're seeing is the result of 40 years of secret research. When humans first reached the stars, we found things: ancient ruins on dead worlds, technology left behind by races that died out millions of years ago. We've been studying it, learning from it, preparing for the day we might need it." Dr. Lisa Martinez floated in the zero-gravity laboratory aboard Vengeance, surrounded by holographic displays showing weapon specifications that should have been impossible. The technology humans had reverse-engineered from ancient artifacts could manipulate gravity itself, turning the fundamental forces of the universe into weapons of unimaginable destruction. "Admiral," Lisa reported over the internal communications, "the gravitational field generators are operating at 97% efficiency. We can target anything from a single ship to an entire star system. How long until we can deploy them against the Cretan homeworld?" "The weapons are ready now, sir. But Admiral, I need to warn you about the potential consequences. These devices don't just destroy targets, they can permanently alter the structure of space-time itself. Once we use them, there's no going back." "Admiral." Cole studied the tactical displays showing the devastation across human space. Haven's Rest was a dead world. The mining colonies were gone. New Terra burned while its people died in the streets. His decision was already made. The Cretan made their choice when they decided to murder human children. We're going to show them exactly what that choice cost them. On Earth, President Karen White addressed the Global Assembly in an emergency session that was broadcast to every human world still capable of receiving transmissions. Her speech was simple and direct, delivered without emotion but carrying the weight of absolute conviction. "Fellow humans, 3 days ago, our enemies launched an unprovoked attack on our colonies. They have murdered millions of innocent people, including children. They have shown no mercy, no honor, no humanity. They have chosen genocide as their path." She paused, looking directly into the camera. "Today we respond. Not with the same cruelty they have shown, but with the full power of human ingenuity and determination. We will ensure that no enemy ever again believes they can safely attack human families. We will make it clear that the price of aggression against humanity is beyond anything they can imagine paying." Meanwhile, in the underground tunnels of New Terra, Colonel Ray Johnson received an encrypted message that changed everything. His resistance fighters had been documenting Cretan atrocities for 3 days, watching as alien troops systematically executed prisoners and destroyed anything of human origin. "Colonel, this is Fleet Command. Relief is coming." Continue documenting enemy actions. Evidence will be needed for what comes next. Fleet Command, this is Johnson. What kind of relief? We're completely cut off here. Colonel, you'll understand. When you see it. Maintain your positions and keep your people underground. In 12 hours, the surface of New Terra is going to become very dangerous. Ray looked at his surviving troops. 43 men and women, all that remained of a regiment that had numbered 800. They had fought impossible odds for 3 days, protecting civilian evacuation sites and gathering intelligence on enemy movements. Now they were told to hide underground and wait. Back in the Vega system, the human fleet prepared for departure. Captain Rogers found herself assigned to a ship she had never seen before, a sleek vessel called Judgment that seemed to phase in and out of normal space. Her crew worked alongside technicians who spoke casually about manipulating black holes and redirecting asteroid belts. Captain Rogers, Admiral Cole addressed her over the fleet communications. Your ship will document everything that happens in the coming battle. The galaxy needs to see what we're capable of when pushed too far. Admiral, what exactly are we planning to do? We're going to end this war in a way that ensures it never happens again. The Cretan wanted to see human strength. We're going to show them power beyond their worst nightmares. On Nexus Prime, Ambassador Zethkar made one final desperate attempt to prevent what he knew was coming. He had managed to establish contact with Admiral Cole through diplomatic channels, hoping to find some alternative to the catastrophe he feared was approaching. Admiral Cole, I am Zethkar of the Velthari Empire. I have been warning the galactic community about the danger of provoking humanity. Perhaps there is still time to find a peaceful resolution to this conflict. The human, Admiral's face on the communication screen was carved from stone. Ambassador, I appreciate your concern, but the time for peaceful resolution ended when the Cretan decided to murder human children. What happens next is not negotiable. Admiral, you must understand. If you respond with the force I believe you possess, it will change everything. The galactic balance of power, the ancient treaties, the very nature of civilization itself. Are you prepared for those consequences? Cole's expression never changed. Ambassador, the Cretan and their allies have already changed everything. They have shown the galaxy that they believe humans can be safely exterminated. We are going to prove them wrong in a way that no one will ever forget. The communication ended, leaving Zethkar staring at a blank screen. He knew that in the coming hours, the galaxy would witness something that would haunt civilized space for generations to come. The humans had been pushed beyond their breaking point, and their response would be measured not in destroyed ships or conquered worlds, but in the fundamental reshaping of reality itself. As the human fleet prepared to jump to hyperspace, Dr. Martinez ran final checks on the gravitational weapons. The energy readings were beyond anything in recorded galactic history. When these devices activated, they would announce to the universe that humanity had mastered forces that even the ancient races had feared to unleash. All ships, this is Admiral Cole. Jump in 30 seconds. Today we show the galaxy what happens when humans are forced to fight for their survival. Today, we ensure that no enemy ever again underestimates the price of threatening human families. The fleet vanished into hyperspace, carrying with it weapons that could rewrite the laws of physics and the cold determination of a species that had been pushed too far. The human fleet emerged from hyperspace at the edge of the Cretan home system, like death itself arriving at their doorstep. War Chief Graktor stood on the bridge of his flagship Bloodhunter, watching his sensors count the incoming vessels. 200 human ships against his force of 600. The odds looked good. Humans come to die in their home system, Graktor growled to his officers. Show them the same mercy they received at their colonies. The Cretan home fleet moved to intercept, their plasma cannons charging for what their commander expected to be an easy victory. 3 allied fleets joined the formation: Draxian heavy cruisers, Nethys stealth fighters, and Zorn battle platforms. Together they represented the largest military force assembled in this sector for over a century. Admiral Cole watched the enemy formations from the Bridge of Vengeance, his expression calm despite the overwhelming odds. Captain Amy Rogers, now, aboard the documentation vessel Judgment, recorded every detail as the two fleets approached each other across the void. "All ships, weapons free," Cole commanded. "Begin with conventional engagement. Let them think they understand what they're fighting." The first exchange of fire looked like any normal space battle. Human ships traded plasma beams and missile salvos with their alien counterparts. Several human vessels took heavy damage, and the Cretan fleet pressed their numerical advantage with typical aggression. "Admiral," reported his tactical officer, "we're taking losses. The Crimson Dawn is venting atmosphere, and the Defiance has lost main power." "Understood. Dr. Martinez, are the gravitational devices ready?" Dr. Lisa Martinez floated in the weapon control center deep within Vengeance, her hands moving across holographic controls that managed forces beyond normal comprehension. The readings on her screens showed energy levels that could power entire star systems. "All gravitational manipulators are online, Admiral. Target selection is complete. Begin with demonstration. Target the smaller moon of Cretan Prime." Lisa's fingers hesitated for just a moment. What she was about to do had never been attempted before. The gravitational field generator would create a controlled collapse, turning Cretan Prime's smaller moon into a miniature black hole that would exist for exactly 47 seconds before dissipating. Gravitational weapon firing now. Space around Cretan Prime's smaller moon began to ripple like water. The moon, a barren rock 200 kilometers across, started to compress as gravity suddenly increased by a factor of 10,000. In less than 30 seconds, 200 kilometers of solid rock collapsed into a point of infinite density. The gravitational waves from the artificial black hole tore through the Cretan fleet like a hurricane through paper buildings. Ships that were kilometers apart found themselves pulled together and crushed. Entire formations were destroyed not by weapons fire, but by the fundamental forces of the universe turned against them. War Chief Graktor watched in horror as half his fleet simply ceased to exist. The black hole lasted less than a minute, but when it dissipated, 300 ships had been reduced to scattered debris. The demonstration was clear. Humans possessed weapons that could rewrite the laws of physics. What are they?" Graktor whispered, his warrior's confidence shattered. Admiral Cole's response came across all communication frequencies. "We are what you made us. Dr. Martinez, proceed with the asteroid field." Dr. Martinez activated the second gravitational device, this one designed to redirect rather than destroy. The asteroid belt that orbited Cretan Prime's sun began to move, pulled by artificial gravity fields toward the planet below. Thousands of rocks, some as large as mountains, accelerated to significant fractions of light speed. The bombardment of Cretan Prime began with rocks moving faster than anything the planet's defenses could track. Cities that had stood for millennia were obliterated in seconds. The proud capital of the Cretan Empire, home to 50 million beings, vanished under the impact of a single large asteroid traveling at 12% of light speed. Captain Rogers documented everything from her position aboard Judgment, her ship's advanced sensors recording the systematic destruction of an entire civilization. This wasn't warfare as the galaxy understood it. This was the demonstration of power that dwarfed the weapons of gods. "Admiral Cole to all surviving Cretan vessels," the human commander broadcast. "You wanted to see human strength. You wanted to test our resolve by murdering our children. This is the result of your choice." War Chief Graktor, his flagship now one of only 30 surviving ships from his original fleet of 600, tried to comprehend what he was witnessing. His homeworld was dying below them, its surface cracked and burning from impacts that released more energy than his civilization's most powerful weapons. "Humans," he transmitted on an open channel. "We surrender. Please, show mercy." "Mercy?" Admiral Cole's voice carried across space like the judgment of an angry god. "Did you show mercy to the children of Haven's Rest? Did you show mercy to the farmers and miners who never threatened you?" Dr. Martinez continued the demonstration. The third gravitational weapon activated, this one targeting Cretan Prime's orbit itself. Dr. Martinez watched her instruments as the planet's path around its sun began to change. The orbital adjustment was minor, but the effects were catastrophic. Tidal forces that should have remained constant began to fluctuate wildly. Oceans boiled away from the planet's surface. The atmosphere began to strip away into space. What the asteroid bombardment had not destroyed, the orbital manipulation finished. Cretan Prime, homeworld of a civilization that had existed for 10,000 years, became uninhabitable in less than an hour. But Admiral Cole was not finished. The human fleet spread out across the Cretan system, targeting the remaining colonies and military installations. Each world received the same treatment: orbital bombardment followed by gravitational manipulation that left them incapable of supporting life. Admiral, Captain Rogers reported from Judgment, "We're receiving surrender transmissions from 17 Cretan worlds. They're begging us to stop." "Log their surrenders, Captain. But the demonstration must be complete. The galaxy needs to understand that attacking human civilians carries a price beyond imagination." The systematic destruction continued for 6 hours. When it was finished, the Cretan Empire had ceased to exist as a spacefaring civilization. Their worlds were either destroyed or rendered uninhabitable. Their fleets were scattered debris. Their military, which had seemed so powerful when attacking defenseless human colonies, had been revealed as insignificant in the face of humanity's true capabilities. Dr. Martinez monitored the gravitational distortions spreading outward from the Cretan system. The weapons they had used were creating ripples in space-time itself, effects that would be detectable across the galaxy. Every species with advanced sensors would know that something fundamental had changed in the balance of galactic power. On Nexus Prime, Ambassador Zethkar watched the long-range sensor readings with growing dread. The energy signatures coming from Cretan space were beyond anything in recorded galactic history. The humans had not simply won a military victory. They had demonstrated the ability to casually destroy entire star systems. "By the ancient gods," he whispered, "what have we allowed to happen?" As if summoned by his words, new contacts appeared on the galactic sensors. The eldest ones, the godlike beings who had shaped galactic civilization for millions of years, were finally stirring from their long slumber. The gravitational distortions humans had created were powerful enough to wake entities that typically ignored the affairs of younger species. But Admiral Cole had expected this response. As the human fleet regrouped in the ruins of the Cretan system, he received a priority message from Earth. President White's instructions were clear. Humanity was prepared to face even divine intervention if necessary. All ships, maintain formation. If the gods themselves object to our actions, then they can explain why they allowed genocide against human children. We are ready for whatever comes next. The Battle of Cretan Prime was over, but its consequences were just beginning. Humanity had announced to the galaxy that they possessed weapons that could challenge the gods themselves, and they were prepared to use them against anyone who threatened human families. The eldest ones arrived in the Cretan system like living nightmares made of light and shadow. Their forms hurt to look at directly, beings of pure energy that existed in dimensions beyond normal space. They had slept for millions of years, maintaining galactic peace through their mere existence. Now the gravitational distortions created by human weapons had awakened them from their ancient rest. Admiral Cole stood on the bridge of vengeance, watching his sensors struggle to process what they were detecting. 3 entities, each one larger than his entire fleet, materialized in the void between the ruined planets. When they spoke, their voices echoed directly in the minds of every living being in the system. "Young species, you have violated the ancient laws. The power you wield was forbidden to all races for good reason. Submit to judgment." Dr. Lisa Martinez worked frantically at her control station, activating systems that had been hidden even from most of humanity's leaders. The gravitational weapons were impressive, but they were only the beginning. The real discoveries from the ancient ruins were devices that could affect the fundamental structure of reality itself. "Admiral, the quantum field generators are online. We're detecting massive energy buildups from the entities they're preparing to attack." Admiral Cole activated his personal communicator to speak directly with President Karen White on Earth. The transmission would take minutes to reach home, but he needed her authorization for what came next. Madam President, the gods have arrived, requesting permission to use the final contingency. On Earth, President White stood in the secure bunker beneath the Global Assembly building, surrounded by humanity's highest leaders. The decision she was about to make would define the future of her species, and possibly the entire galaxy. Admiral Cole, you have my authorization. Show them that humanity bows to no one, not even gods. Back in the Cretan system, the confrontation between humanity and divine authority began. The eldest ones unleashed forces that could normally unmake entire fleets with a thought. Energy beams that operated beyond the electromagnetic spectrum tore through space toward the human ships. But Admiral Cole was ready. Dr. Martinez, activate the quantum shields. All ships, implement Protocol Omega. The human fleet vanished from normal space, phasing into dimensions that the eldest ones had thought were their exclusive domain. Dr. Martinez's quantum field generators allowed human ships to exist in multiple realities simultaneously, making them effectively untouchable by conventional, divine powers. Impossible. The voice of the eldest ones thundered across all dimensions. No young species has ever mastered the quantum depths. How do you possess this knowledge? Admiral Cole's response came from everywhere and nowhere, his fleet now existing in the spaces between realities. We learned from the only species that ever successfully opposed you. The architects left us their gifts before they chose to transcend physical existence. We are their chosen inheritors. The revelation struck the eldest ones like a physical blow. The architects had been their equals, the only race to ever challenge divine authority and survive. That ancient species had vanished from the galaxy millions of years ago, ascending to a higher plane of existence rather than face destruction. Now it seemed they had left behind a successor. Captain Amy Rogers, still aboard the documentation, vessel Judgment, recorded the impossible battle taking place across multiple dimensions. Her ship's advanced sensors showed the human fleet engaging entities that existed as living laws of physics, using weapons that rewrote the basic rules of reality. This is Captain Rogers to Fleet Command. We're witnessing combat on quantum levels. The enemy appears to be divine entities, but our forces are holding their own. How is this possible? Admiral Cole's voice came through the dimensional static. Captain, humanity has been preparing for this day since we first found the architect. Ruins. We knew that our expansion would eventually bring us into conflict with the galaxy's self-appointed guardians. Today, we prove that mortals can challenge gods and win. The battle raged across 7 dimensions simultaneously. The eldest ones, beings who had shaped galactic civilization for eons, found themselves facing an enemy that matched their power with technology instead of raw divine authority. Every attack they launched was countered by human quantum shields. Every attempt to impose their will was blocked by architect-derived reality manipulators. Dr. Martinez monitored the energy exchanges from her control station, watching as forces that could normally destroy star systems clashed in the quantum depths. The architect technology was holding, but she could see the strain on their systems. This battle could not continue indefinitely. Admiral, quantum field stability is at 60% and falling. We need to end this soon. Admiral Cole made the decision that would reshape galactic history. Doctor, activate the architect's final gift. Show the gods what happens when they threaten humanity's children. Deep within Vengeance, a device that humanity barely understood began to activate. The architect consciousness matrix, containing the uploaded minds of an entire transcended species, awakened after millions of years of dormancy. When it spoke, its voice carried the authority of beings who had moved beyond physical existence. Eldest ones. Your time as guardians is ended. We have chosen our successors, and they have proven worthy through trial by fire. Humanity will now assume the responsibility of maintaining galactic order. The eldest ones recoiled in shock and recognition. Architects, you swore to never interfere again after your transcendence. We interfered only to prevent genocide against our chosen heirs. The Cretan Alliance sought to exterminate humanity entirely. In defending themselves, Humans have demonstrated the strength necessary to replace you as galactic guardians. The confrontation ended not with violence, but with the formal transfer of cosmic authority. The eldest ones, faced with the return of their ancient equals, acknowledged humanity's right to inherit the galaxy. They began to fade back into their dimensional slumber. Their role as galactic police finally ended. Admiral Cole found himself speaking directly with the architect consciousness, entities that had transcended physical existence eons before humans had even developed agriculture. "Why us?" he asked. "Why did you choose humanity as your inheritors?" "Because you alone among young species understand the price of true strength. You do not seek power for its own sake, but only when faced with the extinction of your people. That restraint, combined with your creativity and determination, makes you worthy guardians of galactic peace." President White's voice reached Admiral Cole through the quantum communications array. "Admiral, you have succeeded beyond our greatest hopes. Return to Earth. We have much work to do." The human fleet began its journey home, leaving behind the ruins of the Cretan Empire as a monument to the consequences of threatening human families. But they also carried with them the greatest responsibility in galactic history, the authority to shape the future of all spacefaring civilizations. On Nexus Prime, Ambassador Zethkar addressed an emergency session of the Galactic Council. The delegates who had dismissed his warnings now listened with terrified attention. "Fellow beings," he began, his voice heavy with the weight of prophecy fulfilled. "The age of the eldest ones is over. Humanity has proven itself the strongest force in the galaxy, and they now possess the authority to reshape civilization as they see fit. I suggest we learn to coexist peacefully with our new guardians, because the alternative has been demonstrated with terrible clarity. The galaxy had learned that when humans finally snap, not even gods can protect those who awaken their wrath. Now, under humanity's watchful protection, a new age of galactic peace would begin, enforced by a species that preferred cooperation, but would not hesitate to demonstrate why resistance was futile.